Let me ask you something. As a kid, did you like soft Pokemon more or rugged Digimon more? No, I'm not talking about the anime or the games. I'm talking strictly about the monster designs. As a boy, I've always liked the animals that have offensive or defensive quirks, such as spiky arms of a mantis and the detachable tail of a lizard. Many kids like cute, adorable animals, but I was more fascinated with animals that can crush those soft furballs into smithereens. It probably doesn't surprise you that the concept of survival of the fittest resonated with me. At that time, my understanding of it was that the strong will live, and the weak will die out. Bye bye. Over time, only the bigger, the meaner, and the stronger will remain. It kinda sounds messed up coming from a little boy, but I'm sure I wasn't alone. I mean, all boys love dinosaurs, right? As I grew older, I got a better understanding of evolution. A species does not necessarily evolve to be bigger, meaner, and stronger. I know, so disappointing. A species has a particular feature because the feature favors the survival and the reproduction of the species. For example, a bird embryo mutates to have a long, pointed beak. That bird can easily pick seeds out of cactus fruits, so it has less chance of starving and has higher chance of passing the genes. Charles Darwin came up with it, but he couldn't explain how diverse features originated in the first place. It took about 100 years for the field of genetics to explain that random mutation creates random changes. Random mutation occurs because of solar UV radiation or mistakes in copying DNA. Radiation, mutation, and natural selection should explain how all the animals evolved, right? Well, that's what I thought, until I watched a documentary about cave animals. Most species that live in total darkness have evolved to lose skin pigmentation and even eyes. Let's look at cave salamanders. Based on natural selection, there must be some advantage to having no pigmentation and no eyes. But you cannot see skin color, so a cave salamander with pigmentation has just as much chance of survival and reproduction as a cave salamander without pigmentation. In total darkness, you are blind whether you have eyes or not. So having eyes is not an advantage nor a disadvantage. If there is no advantage nor disadvantage, then natural selection does not favor a cave salamander to lose its eyes. And yet, they have lost them. There must be something else at work that's making them evolve the way they are. I thought about this subtle force driving evolution of salamanders when I was in physics lecture. The lecture was hard to follow, so I wasn't the only one daydreaming. But instead of daydreaming about cats or girls, I was daydreaming about an undiscovered force that drives evolution. I should have been a biology major, shouldn't I? Anyways, I proposed my hypothesis to my friends, but they disagreed. They thought there must be an advantage to losing skin pigmentation and eyes. They just didn't know what exactly that advantage was. I'm sorry, but without a clear advantage, I just couldn't agree with their hypothesis. For my hypothesis, I made up this use it or lose it concept. Here's my thought experiment. Let's take two pairs of identical twins. Each pair has one twin live normally with sight, while the other twin is blindfolded all the time since birth. The experimental group is a blindfolded couple and let them have a kid. The control group is a couple with sight and let them have a kid. How would the case turn out? What if we repeat the process for several generations? Based on natural selection, there is no difference in sight for the descendants of the two groups. Why? Because the two groups have the same chance of random mutation, and the two groups reproduce equally. However, I believe the sight will get worse and worse each generation for the blindfolded group. I took my hypothesis even further. I believe this applies to any body part. If you create an experimental group of people who are never allowed to walk or even stand, then over many generations, the legs will get weaker, thinner, and shorter. eventually to a point where their descendants are completely incapable of walking. The only way that could happen is for the genes to mutate based on the environment. Yes, that's right. I believe your genes can develop certain features as you age and pass down that feature to your kids.
What the fuck?
Okay, so perhaps it was a good thing I did not pursue the field of biology. Surely I would have become a mad scientist. So I explained my thought experiment to my friends, but they all thought I was crazy. Since I did not study the field of biology, I ended up believing that my own hypothesis was nonsense. Until I came across the concept of epigenetics. Researchers found that a learned behavior can be passed down for generations without ever teaching the descendants. How? Well, here is the experiment. A male rat is given a painful electric shock when sweet smell of fruits is present. The rat quickly learned to fear the sweet smell because he associated it with pain. Now, are you ready for the shocking result? The first generation of descendants also feared the sweet smell, even though they were never introduced to their father and to the fruits. This behavior persisted even to the second generation descendants. So was I right? Did the electric shock somehow mutated the rat's genes? Well, not quite. Acquired behaviors and muscle development do not mutate the genes. However, how the genes are read can change. Here is how it works. Genes are like instruction manuals that tell the cell to create proteins with various functions. I'm sure you all knew that, but what most people don't know is that most sections of the genes are not read by the cell at all. Basically, a cell is a lazy factory worker that only reads the highlighted parts of the instruction manual. Which parts of the genes are read are controlled by epigenetic tags. The tags can be turned on and off based on the environment. They essentially change the highlighted section of the manual. It was the epigenetic tags that the baby rat inherited. Okay, so my hypothesis wasn't quite correct, and I was wrong about the environment mutating the genes. But I wonder if anyone has thought of the implications of the epigenetics. It evolves the species much faster than random mutation can. I bet if we run simulation of Earth's species without epigenetics, then the simulated species would evolve much slower than reality. I bet the simulated evolution is much more accurate by putting epigenetics into the equation. Perhaps this will change the scientists' understanding of diversity of species. And now, I would like to revise my favorite quote from my favorite childhood movie. Life finds a way much faster than you think. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you liked the video